Empire course, which is the TriNZ esport race of this coming Wednesday. I just wanted to look at the course, see where we're going to see some action and in action. Thinking about breakaways, thinking about pushing it, just familiarising myself really. I think it's always useful if you're racing, even if you've raced of course loads of times, so you don't have brain farts really. Okay. Other thing I wanted to do here is have a look at how I'm setting up my data and stream stuff. What else do I want to type in here at all? I've turned off my camera at the moment because I stupidly wore green this morning. So I've got my chrome filter and my lighting's not working properly, so need a bit of work on that. The Rising Empire has a 400 metre lead in from the fence, and it gets into 20.8 k's. We've got that on the map that I've loaded up there. Basically roll down off the top of the hill, dip, climb, rollers for a little while, then the New York KOM. That's what I'm expecting to see a lot of pressure added. But actually, the gap can be broken on that first climb, which is around the 4k mark. Let's see what happens. Going to do some playing as well on what actually the setup here looks like. Please excuse while I'm playing around with this. Playing around with the view, see what I can check in different places. Alright, so this is the pick. Where I said okay. Plateau at 5%. Too much audio going on there. that 3.6k mark is where the first it's going to happen. Alright, so I've put on here the Manuka Performance YMZ race 4 one, because when it comes to doing the YMZ race, I'll be putting race 5 stream on here too. So it's good to see what it looks like. See if there's any issues with audio, see if there's any issues with just the stream itself.
Good evening and welcome to race number 4 of the Triathlon New Zealand Esports Series, brought to you by Manuka Performance. Seated here next to me is Rob Dellymore. I'm Anna Russell, you know us by now. This is a great course tonight. I'll let Rob take you through it shortly after we do our results. But Rob, you're back in New Zealand.
Fourth different location for commentary, so here we are. But I'm actually home, so I'm very relieved, very thankful for that.
Fantastic. It's been a great 3 races to start with. Tonight it's pretty flat and fast. I've got eyes on the pen at the moment. 9 minutes till the women's race. A and B Cat start. About 10 minutes. We're following B Cat men tonight. But before we kick into a bit of the action, how about we see where we're sitting in the results for where we're standing 3 races in.
Yeah, let's have a look at it. So starting out with the clubs, Triathlon Tauranga settling into a nice little lead there over Canterbury Tri, Auckland City Tri, which is going to be a real tight battle. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out the next couple of weeks. Tri Wellington and Hibiscus Coast also battling out for 4th and 5th, quite close behind each other.
Yeah, they're looking pretty tight there with those 2nd and 3rd. Looking at the coach groups now. This is look at that. Foot traffic taking. It's almost embarrassing, Rob. Huge lead out there from the Foot Traffic crew. I've got some people already coming on the socials. Sarah Lloyd saying go Foot Traffic. Fitter sitting in 2nd place. They jumped ahead of Team Inspire on 186 points.
Come on, Anna.
I know, I've got to get up there. We've got, actually, O'Hagan Sport, do want to mention as well that it is the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Tony O'Hagan. So he has inspired a lot of athletes, especially on the Zwift platform. He was fantastic and helped me a lot last year when we got this all started. So fantastic to see his athletes still representing him 4th on the table, which is just phenomenal.
Stu,
Chris, I hope you were watching this. He would have been all over.
I wasn't ready for that.
I think it was just all over every one of these races.
6.7k kit.
Perimeter coaching, Chris Willett's crew out of Tauranga is sitting in 5th place.
So through the A categories, James Harvey, James Barnes, both battling it out at top of the table. Mark Bosed, Ben Ruth, and Alex Heaney close behind. Those are some elite Zwift races right there. Those are some of the best in the world. It's exciting stuff.
And the women there, Rob?
Oh, sorry, Emma O'Connor. So she's really stamping a mark on this series. She's had some great races and great performances. Georgina Thornton, Amy Hollenby, Bridget Kittle, and Hannah Prosser are closing in behind her.
And looking at the Bs now, we've got on the men's side Tom Burgess really dominating the B category. We will be following this category tonight. There's some great little battles going on. Fons Katjan in second place, David Goodall in third, Paul Kropp in fourth, Justin Roy in fifth. On the women's side, Sarah Gorman leading that out, Sonia Foote in second, Anna Longdale in third, Britt Litton, who I've just seen in the start pen chatting away, in fourth, and Laura Wood in fifth.
That B category is going to be the race of the season. There's a lot going on there. In the C's, Dave Spedding from Pete Marshall, John Evans, Christoph Pinnell, and Brian Goods. And then in the women's, Hannah Martin. Watch out for that upgrade, Hannah. Vicky McNaught, Angie Wall, Lydia Myers, and Deirdre Lack. There's some top quality riders in there, and we might see some upgrades for after this race, I'd say.
And looking at the D category now, on the men, it's Jeff Roberts. We've got Barry Eccles in second, Martin Hill in third, Michael Carden in fourth, Sean Willis in fifth. The women, Ellie Boggs, I mean, I think she's almost had 3 from 3, so see how she goes on the sprint type courses. Michelle Lawton-Hill in second, Kylie Frost in third. She's just been sending me messages of them on the pictures of them on the trainers, ready to go, full family affair. Cherie Scott in fourth, and Amanda Needham in fifth. And actually, Rob, we've got the under-19 results coming through this week too, so I'll just get you to talk through those.
So Matthew Nay, he's having some exciting racing. Matheson Colquhoun, I think I got that name right. Grayson Westgate, he's always a name that I've got on my favourites list. Jaden Walker, Lucas Reed. And in the women, Hannah Prosser and Samantha Frost. So those two are the only women in the under-19 category. But it's great to see they're both hitting it out together.
Yeah, it is good. If anyone's watching who is under 19 and we haven't got them on the list, just let us know, because we are just catching those as we go along. Zwift Power doesn't have the under 19 category in there, so let me know. And make sure you're added. We will have an
next kick is at 8.9 kilometers.
The e-try event coming up on July 10th,
Start
which
the
we are preparing for. But we'll talk about that a bit later while the racing's on. Rob, how about you take us through the course for tonight?
Yeah, so this is I absolutely love this course, and it's a Champs-Élysées course. It's everyone knows it as the final stage of the Tour de France. It's not the final stage of our race series, but it's the one that people absolutely love, because there's so many tactics to this race. It's a long straight road, but it's a very, very difficult road. So there's a 3.2k lead-in before you actually start the sprint, and from that point on, there's 5 laps around the circuit. And people who have ridden it before, if you haven't recce'd this course, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. It does climb all the way up to that sprint banner at the top of the climb. You go around the Arc de Triomphe and you come all the way back down again. You go under the tunnel, which goes past the Louvre, and back towards the finish line at the on the Champs-Élysées. So as I say, long straights, but it's a long climb up to the Arc de Triomphe, and it's a long descent coming off it. But it's a tactical descent, because it's actually not fast enough to get a super tuck unless you're in a really, really fast moving group. So if you get dropped at the top, you're in a world of pain trying to get back on before you hit the bottom when it flattens out again. So it's going to be really exciting. Bonus sprint lap number 3, and that'll be at the banner at the top of the climb. Now, those that have raced this before will understand. We talked about this the other day, Anna, is the triple power up tactic, which is a winning move in this race.
I didn't tell any of my athletes about it, because I wasn't sure I wanted to give them an unfair advantage.
It's too confusing. Unless you know what you're doing. You can make a real meal of it. You've really got to know what you're doing. But if you can, it can be really, really good.
Yeah, I've used it once and managed to have a solo breakaway. I mean, the tip that I gave North Harbour Tri Club is asking me for a tip of the week each week, and this time it was in that last lap, so lap number 5, try and do a solo breakaway over the top of that sprint, because you can get away. I've seen people get away, and a bunch sprint on this course, if you don't have sprinting legs, it's kind of a waste of time. You've got to manage to get away. So let's see if anyone manages to do that. We're about 2 minutes 30 away from the women's A and B starting. And then, like I said,
Great.
we'll be following the B men. Rob,
Now I've told the B men that we're following them, so we need to see a race. So I've threatened them if it's boring, we're going to move. So I've been assured by the big hitters in the B cat that they're going to be throwing down in this race, and this is a good one to watch. So fingers crossed it actually ends up this one.
Fantastic. And I think I'm not sure what category the Miller boys are in. There's Liam and his brother out there racing too, but I've also been told that they were inspired by the ACAT antics last week and they want to
Yes.
spice things up a bit. So might see the Millers out there trying to do something, or they're going to be wearing horrific choices. So
Yeah,
one or
possibly.
the other.
We come back to that race last week, and that was one of the best ACAT races that I've seen. Just had everything in it. It was hard from the start. There was tactics. There was massive explosions. There were comebacks, and there was a world-class sprint at the finish. So, that was the race to watch, and let's hope we can see this, similar things in the races to come. But they're good that the boys acknowledged that race because they were watching one of the best races you would see.
Yeah, it was, I think as well, having the bonus points on offer does really mix things up a bit because people, you get 10 points if you cross that bonus line first, and that can make a real difference. I already saw when I was doing the results late last night for the race before, it made some big differences at the tops of the table. So we'll see what's happening on lap 3. I know people have been messaging me asking what specific kilometre that is. So just after 17 kilometres would be when they hit that bonus sprint on lap 3. But about 30 seconds away from the women kicking off, we'll head down to them to watch their race start. 'Cause it's always exciting when they've got a flat start to just see the kind of watts that they're pushing up. About 25 seconds away, it looks like a good field out there in the A and B women category. But Rob, if you're thinking about the A's and B's for the women, who have you got your eye on for this kind of a course?
Assuming it's going to come down to a sprint finish, we've still got to go with Emma O'Connor. I think she's got the sprint power. We might see a breakaway. Amy Hollenby, I think, has got a good breakaway in her. But the thing is, you've got to commit so far out. You've got to be going up that climb on that last lap, prepared to push into it. And that's where the move's going to be. If no one's going to get away on that climb, it's going to end up as a bunch sprint. And I think you give it to Emma O'Connor, just knowing what she's been able to do.
Got eyes on Emma O'Connor now, just pushing through there. She's in looks like just the navy blue top, but Georgina Thornton, she had some supporters out there last week and she was pushing really hard, so she's already moved off the front here.
Yeah, it's the pace is on. They're mid-5s, somewhere to 6. So we always talk about the start as being crucial, but in this race in particular, it's so flat. There's no let up at all. If you're trying to draft and soft pedal, you're going to get spat out the back. So you got to be pedaling hard and pushing through. See a few disc wheels in there. Carly Francis, she's done her homework. She's a cryogen rider, so she's probably raced this course a few times. She knows the benefit of a disc. Looks like there's another disc there. I can't tell who's riding that, but there's a few Tron bikes. So there's a lot of homework being done in this race as to knowing what wheels and bike combination works best.
Yeah,
Natalie Smith there, she's on the Tron bike. That's good.
She had a great race last week as well, so doing very well. Nat Smith she is in the B category, I think, but she is at risk from the performance last week, and seeing her in this front group now that she could go up to ACATs, which is always good, means that you're performing well and you're seeing some improvements. I've just seen the B men start too. We've got Gordon McCauley in the B cat this evening. So
he'll go. He goes from the gun. He'll be gone. He'll be off. I know how he races. It's exciting. Just looking at the women's race, I'm glad to see Britt Litton's in there. Fiona Gallagher there, she's in there as well. So these are very, very strong bike riders. They love a flat course. They love a hard
5% climb off the back of the
Britt's on the
sprint.
disc too. Yep, Britt's
Make sure
who races a lot. She knows.
You've got to pair up.
How
You
this
play
race
it
is played.
before
She knows the disc
the
wheel
banner
is an advantage. Actually, she asked me earlier today what would be an advantage. So yeah, she's obviously got a good garage of wheels there. She's done her work.
Just see some socials coming in here. Go Maddock, so that's Cherise Scott. Have seen her name on the start list there, so good to see. And there's a lot of the B Cat men giving you a bit of grief in the socials too, Rob. So
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm good. I'm glad. We'll be talking about them later. But as we go through this tunnel here under the Louvre, this is a crucial little section. It's a climb out of the tunnel, and it's not steep and it's not long, but it's enough that if you're at the back, it just strings you out a little bit. So I've always told people to make sure they're at the front when they hit the bottom of that descent through the tunnel, so they can even sag climb up it, but you don't want to be stuck at the back. And as we come around the corner, it's onto the flat section. I ran down this road about 4 years ago at the Paris Marathon in the opposite
Wow.
direction, actually. Yeah, it was remarkable. It was
That's
an amazing place to. Yeah, it was cool. It was awesome. And just now we see someone who's just like Amy Hollenby. She's just making a little move off the front by the looks of it. Just keeping things fast. You know, they don't want to see it slowing down. They don't want to see it letting up at all. So yeah, the pace is on.
Yeah, they've had a little break there. I see. I think it's Hannah Prosser. Just dropped off the pace a little bit there. And if I can pull in the A category
And
results
Heather
here.
Neal, yeah, that's interesting. Oh, Hannah's with that group, but actually, oh no, she's not. She's 7 seconds down. She's with Heather Neal, and Heather's a very strong Zwift racer, very strong road cyclist. So maybe they just didn't start off fast enough. Maybe they just missed that start. They didn't have the watts up enough.
You can see
and you
them
can see them behind.
distance. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
will they catch back on, Rob? Do you think, or is that the 7 seconds? It's pulling away.
Yeah, it depends if it's 7 seconds at the bottom of that climb. I think the stronger riders could get across. Hannah and Heather maybe could get across, but I think that's a crucial move to miss that gap. They really need to commit to it. But the hard thing is they're trying to chase down 9 or 10 riders who are moving very, very fast. So they've got to be riding faster. They've got to be riding a watt and probably 1 to 1.5 watts per kilo quicker, harder than the riders at the front of that group to know that they're pulling them back. 6 seconds. Well, they're committing to it. They're on the move. They recognise it's there and it's had an effect. And it's a long race. So yeah, anything could happen. And
So
we
it
come
looks
to
like,
some power ups.
This is the beginning of lap 1, and now they'll be getting some power ups. So they had that lead in, it was about 3 kilometers. Now they're into lap 1 proper. You can see the Arc de Triomphe in the distance, just looks beautiful. They'll hit this climb, which heads to the sprint. Now, we're not entirely sure from Zwift which power ups have been activated, but we will see pretty quickly when people start dropping them whether they're going to have the infamous ghost power up. Do you want to talk a little bit through what that is, Rob, if they do end up having that one?
Yeah, the Ghost is well, I think you'll agree that the Ghost is probably one of the most valuable ones to get, because if you're prepared to make an attack, it's the one you want to use, because you get 15 seconds before you reappear, and if you've done the attack properly, you're suddenly up the road. The other thing that you can do if you're getting gapped off and if you've got a bunch of riders with you is you can use that Ghost to attack to get back onto the group ahead of you and not drag anyone with you, which is also it's like almost a defensive move. But the Ghost is a really, really effective one if you use it properly. If not, which we see now, one's being used. Is that a Ghost that's being used? No, that's a feather.
Oh,
Who's
it was
using
a
it?
Ghost.
Emma.
Yes, Amy Hollenby had a Ghost. She just appeared.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Emma and Amy have both dropped their power ups at the same time, and that's had an effect, and that's impressive. So straight away they've got a second now. They've got to keep moving. They've got to keep the pressure on. They've got to break to 2 seconds out, 3 seconds, and it is still climbing. They can do a lot of damage here, and these 2 extremely strong riders.
Oh wow, this is amazing. So they will have the feather, the truck, and the Ghost. So the Ghost, like Rob said, you disappear for 10 seconds and reappear. It's a great surprise move. The feather, you drop your weight by a certain amount, which would be great for this uphill sprint. And then the truck, a great one for catching back on after the sprint, I think, because you'll get a bit of a draft benefit around the top and then can kind of ease back in. So yeah, great to see those different power-ups coming in, and these guys have pulled away. Yeah,
Georgina's coming across. So I suspect Emma used that feather at the time, and as soon as Amy saw that happen, she knew straight away to drop that Ghost and go with her. Georgina Thornton's done really well to close, and they've only got 2 seconds on that group behind. So that group with Britt, Fiona, those guys are all going to be riding hard, and they know that as soon as they hit the top, which they're on now, it flattens, but it doesn't get any easier. So the 3 at the front have to keep moving. The ones behind have to keep pushing through. I've just had a message from one of the guys who was one of the B favourites in the B, Dave Braveheart Goodall, has had a mechanical on the pen, so he's out.
Devastating.
Disappointing.
It is
So that he was,
best 4 races count, so that's
yeah.
okay. You can afford to drop a couple of races with technicals. We will jet now over to the men's race. They're just coming through the sprint. They've got a bit of a break out the front. We're following Gordon McCauley here. I mean, amazing cyclist. We've got Tom Burgess.
Tom the Bomb Burgess has made his move off the front, and he talked about this. He's got his 4-second gap. He loves this sort of thing. He's in his element. He's gone over the top of that climb and he's stretching it out. So he's going to take some riders with him, but more importantly for him, he's going to drop riders off that group. He wants to thin that group out and keep as few in there as possible. And of course, GMC Gordy McCauley's at the front of that chase pack, riding them back down, which works to his tactics. Absolutely. That's a large group though. There's some riders that have really hung in well there. Mike Tong, one of my own athletes, he's done really well. Good to see him in that group. And Wayne Ross, who's another rider from probably one of Gordy's customers actually, from up the Hibiscus Coast. He's riding very well as well. Damon Clark, we can see him's there. Grant Clifton, Cole Burmester, that's Moss's brother. Moss is in there somewhere, so the battle of the brothers might be going on, and I think Moss might have actually been dropped out of that group.
Oh, that's going to be devastating for Moss. Not good at all. That battle of the brothers, you never want to get dropped on that first lap. So we'll see. I'll try and get the results of the B categories up so we can just see who's sitting where and where the sort of little battles are in this category, which we haven't followed before in the race, the men's B. So we can just see here the B category racing. Tom Burgess, who we saw out the front, Fons Katjan, David Goodall, Paul Kropp and Justin Roy. So those are the players we're looking at in this race tonight.
Yeah, and it looks like there's probably close to 40 riders in this front group. Even though it's stretched out a few seconds, they're all pretty much in touch. So that's a decent sized group. Finn Orr, he's a young athlete, Auckland City Tri Club, used to go to St Kentigern's College. He's good to see him racing there, but this is a good sized group. Riders like Tom, Paul Kropp, Gordy, they're going to want to stretch this out each lap up that climb, just a little bit more effort each time to try and drop some of these riders off, because what you don't want is a strong sprinter sitting in the back of that pack not knowing that they're there and just saving their legs. I'm seeing a few names popping up there which are in the back there that I know are strong riders, so they're playing a real tactical game here, and it's just going to be interesting to see if the patrons of this pack are able to get to the front and dominate them.
Yeah, I do just want to note, we see a couple of names coming up with brackets, NZ Bro behind them. Just want to have a shout out to those guys. They're a new Zwift team, so I've just seen them starting a team on social media, getting pretty active. They're sort of emerged out of this Try and Z series, and they're just so getting into the Zwift racing that they're wanting to start a full New Zealand race league to take part in some other Zwift races. So you can see a few people there, and if you're keen, I've got some info that went through in the results last week, and also just check out their Facebook page. They're getting really, really excited about it and doing some cool things for New Zealand esport racing.
That's awesome. That's good to see, and I know that was something that they really want to. Moss is still on the pack. Oh, Cole's got time to type.
I know.
Oh, that's you know what that is. That's a flex. That is a flex. He's like, I'm sitting in here. I'm just going to type, just so everybody knows I'm feeling pretty fresh. I'm not one of those ones that can type while I'm trying to ride. But there's Moss. He's at the front. Okay, so I didn't see his name. Sorry, Moss. Apologise.
So we've got Battle of the Brothers there, Moss and Cole. It's going pretty good. There's going to be a lot of trash talk between them. There always is every week. Cole is looks. He's just playing a game here. He's saying he's pretty tired. Yeah. I don't know if he is.
No, I don't fall for that sort of carry on at all. There's a few riders that have been spat out the back of this group on that descent, which we said is so important. It's now down to 36 riders, and it was 44 at the top of the climb. So those riders who were soft pedaling on the way down, hoping they get a bit of a free ride, they've been spat out the back. So it's not one of those races you can do that. It's all about commitment.
Ian Gold falling off the back here desperately. Yeah. He's getting in a bad zone there and needs to get back onto this group because they will be moving very, very quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he's probably got to have to go 2 watts kilo higher for probably 30 or 40 seconds, which is a big risk. The only thing that might fall in his favour is they get to that little dip under the tunnel, and coming up the other side, that might ease up a little bit. If he can keep the pressure on, he should get back in there and he should get on that draft. But it's not a nice place to be when you see those seconds ticking away It's going to be tough. We'd like to come back and see how that goes in the end. I'm just looking, just getting a quick update on the ACATs to see what's going on in there, and it looks like they've got about 27, maybe 27 riders in their front pack, which is a solid size group, and all the big hitters that we'd expect are in there, and they're all pushing big numbers. So no surprises there. But this B race is where it's at, because this is actually playing out to be a really, really exciting race.
Yeah, I'm
Looking over at the
excited
women's
to. Yeah, we just in the women's race we had Emma O'Connor and Georgina Thornton with a bit of a two-woman breakaway, but they have now been
Amy Hollandby.
yeah, swallowed up a little bit. I have a feeling Amy Hollandby may have had a technical, because I don't see her in this group anymore, and she kind of disappeared from that breakaway. So
Right.
unfortunately, I think Amy may have had a bit of a technical. We call it a Zwift technical. It'll be similar to having a flat tire in real life. Just maybe your Wi-Fi's dropped out or something like that. So it looks like she's disappeared here, but that opens it up for some of the other women in this category.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of the racing. That's sometimes what happens, and it happened to one of our Kiwi riders at the World Championships this year, where his trainer actually packed out on him for about 20 minutes before the finish line. He ended up freewheeling across the line to come fourth place, and he probably could have gone on and won it. And it's just one of those things that happen in this sort of racing. It's just like you say, it's like a flat tire, it's like a broken chain. Nothing you can do about it at the time, but it's just unfortunate. But you're right. I think she has disappeared from that group. So maybe her Wi-Fi dropped out or something. That's opened it up for these other riders, which they did very well to come back together. They know how to play the game, and there's Britt on the back of that group, just saving her legs, waiting for this little pop.
She's a wily rider, isn't she?
Yeah, she won't be talking herself up at all.
No. So interesting to see. Oh, Sonia Foote in that team as well. So in that little group, Sonia Foote, the very elite mountain biker, New Zealand mountain biker, I think competed at a couple of World Championship events. So she'd be one to have my eye on, I think. She's a bit more new to the Zwift game, so you can see Britt Lytton there, just in that pink cap and the black kit. She's playing it pretty smart, staying in the draft, but Sonia Foote's got some watts.
Yeah, I'll throw some numbers at you right now. So in terms of average watts per kilo, for example, Emma O'Connor's at 4.2. She's working really high, really, really hard. She's driving that pace. Nat Smith's 4.2. Georgina Thornton's 4.2. Brittany Lytton's 3.4. So Fiona Gallagher 3.5. So these riders that are sitting at the back are saving a lot of energy, waiting for the right time to attack. The riders that are riding hard, hoping to spread it out, hoping to stretch it out, they're doing the way they want to race it. But these other riders are able to sit in there in that draft and save their legs a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out, because the stronger riders will know there's really only a couple of places to attack on this course, and we're coming up to it now, obviously up this climb. But can they attack enough to break those other riders who are sitting back a little bit, saving their legs?
And if we look at what's just popped up on screen, Rob, that's the times they went through the first sprint. Now, this isn't an indication of how fast they can sprint, because they would have just sort of rolled through, but good sort of note there that Georgina Thornton taking out that first sprint, where there are no bonus points, so it'll be lap 3 where we look at that in a greater detail. This is currently lap 2, but Georgina Thornton, I think from the race last week, she was very, very strong, and her and Emma O'Connor have got a nice little battle going on there, so that's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they'll be spending, and they know that the series points are massive in this race. And they won't want either one to get ahead of them, but the other riders in this group can benefit from that cat and mouse.
The bonus.
This is where the hurt goes on, right on this little climb. It only goes to 3%, maybe a little bit higher than that, but it's just enough to really stretch you out, because you've been going for a long time. And it does get to the top of that climb, and it does flatten out. You can see that stretching out now. Fiona Gallagher's coming across. She's doing well to sit in there. Britt's there with a pink cap. Georgina and Emma are at the front doing their dominant game, and it's a great way to race. Stay at the front, be safe the whole way. Men's race, still a big field.
Yeah. Just this is a massive field, so we're not seeing anyone trying any breakaways. They're all staying together. They've just come through that sprint banner for lap 2, heading around the Arc de Triomphe, then they hit that downhill. But yeah, it was stringing out a little bit on that climb. A few people were putting in a few digs, but nothing that's there's a little gap there though, with Fiddy and Orr leading a little chase here.
Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is they're riding very similar numbers to the women's race. So, you expect on a flat course like this, the guys will be able to put out higher watts anyway, just because they're bigger in mass. But they're actually not putting, relative to their own body weight, they're not putting a huge amount of effort in the women, and it's a smaller women's pack. So that women's race is actually really, really hot. This men's race is becoming a little bit more tactical, and
Just
I don't believe it. I don't
I
believe
mean,
that.
I'm not going to get too graphic because people are probably eating dinner while they're watching this. But the amount of people who tell me that they've vomited after these races is just phenomenal. People are pushing like crazy with all these little internal battles going on with all their mates, their brothers, their mums, their dads. So I'm not surprised to see that note. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but if you can vomit and type at the same time, then where your priorities at? That's.
Oh man. Yeah,
But we're on. Yeah, but we're on this descent now, and people, the strong riders will sit at the front, keep the pace high. The back ones will be drafting, but have to be very, very careful that gaps aren't opening up. I wouldn't want to be the second or third riders for the sprint now, because I think it's a good time to do that. Knowing your strengths, knowing where your strengths lie, we're going to see some people.
It's just kind of halfway up this climb. There'll be green lines on the right-hand side of the road, but we're seeing some early moves here. Tom Bird just breaking away a little bit.
Mike Tong, F. Smith. Who is F. Smith? That's a new name that we haven't seen here much before. Yaroslav Bobek. Tom's just going to sit on his wheel. I think Tom's going to roll him. Unfortunately, Yaroslav probably doesn't have the watts. I don't think Mike would have the watts to hold. But
Fon's here. Massive attack from Fon's capturing, coming through over the top of Tom Burgess. Wow.
So he's using his draft, and he's taking a big advantage by riding through the group, and he's doing it right. He's pushing hard off the front.
Early attack. Now, that is early.
Yeah, he's still got, when he gets to that green line, he's still got 15 seconds of sprint to go. And he's got 2 seconds on... 3 seconds on Tom, so 1 second on Tom. Here comes Tom. We're going to see him come to the screen. There he goes, and he's on his own. So Tom is going to take that for sure.
Let's have a look.
He's not going to ease up.
Anyone is chasing high. I see Paul Crop hitting some high numbers, but if we pan across, that is a gap.
It's a gap. It's a gap.
Will he carry this through after the bonus points he will have gathered here and try and have a solo breakaway?
I think if he had another rider with him, he probably would, but I don't think. Now he's got 15 seconds to go, so you can just see how far away Tom had to commit to that, which suits his racing style perfectly. But yeah, I don't think he will be able to hold that lead. 4 seconds. He kind of needs 15 seconds, doesn't he? According to your estimations. But what he has done is he's created a gap of about 5 riders who have got 10 seconds, or Tom's got 10 seconds on those riders behind. So there's 4 or 5 riders that may get across to him, and that might be the move for the race. It might break that field into half straight away.
Now we've got the women's race heating up here. Much different, much more cat and mouse. It looks like they are coming across to just start their sprint very shortly. And